Blood Moon Beast. In the small, fog-shrouded village of Dunmore, nestled deep within the shadowy embrace of ancient woods, a sinister legend had haunted the townsfolk for generations. They whispered tales of a creature that lurked in the darkest parts of the forest, a beast driven by an insatiable hunger for the hearts of the living. The legend of the Heart-Eater had been dismissed by the modern world as nothing more than superstition, a story to keep children from wandering too far into the woods. But the villagers knew better. They had seen the signs: cattle found mutilated, their hearts missing eerie footprints leading back into the forest, too large and misshapen to be human, and, most chilling of all, the disappearances. It was said that every few years the beast would emerge from its lair, hungry and relentless. It would stalk the village under the cover of night, selecting its prey with a terrifying precision. Those who were taken were never seen again, except for their hearts, which were often found in the most unusual places, grotesquely displayed as if the beast took some twisted pleasure in its kills. This year, as the harvest moon hung low and blood-red in the sky, the villagers grew restless. It had been nearly a decade since the last disappearance, and there was a palpable tension in the air. Old wives clutched their rosaries, muttering prayers under their breath, while the younger folk armed themselves, hoping that their weapons might offer some protection against the unknown terror. Among them was Maeve, a young woman who had returned to Dunmore after years of living in the city. She had left the village to escape its suffocating traditions and dark history, but the death of her parents had brought her back. Maeve had always been a skeptic, dismissing the old legends as nothing more than fear-mongering. But as the nights grew longer and the stories of the Heart-Eater resurfaced, even she couldn't shake the feeling of dread that gnawed at her. One evening, as Maeve was walking home from the village market, she felt an unsettling presence behind her. She quickened her pace, but the feeling persisted, like cold fingers brushing against her spine. Glancing over her shoulder, she saw nothing but shadows and swaying trees. Yet the forest seemed alive, as if it were watching her. That night, Maeve dreamt of the Heart-Eater. In her dream, the beast was neither man nor animal but something in between, with elongated limbs and eyes that glowed with a malevolent intelligence. It prowled through the woods, sniffing the air as if searching for someone. The dream was so vivid that Maeve awoke in a cold sweat, her heart pounding in her chest. But she dismissed it as nothing more than her mind playing tricks on her. The next day, the village was in an uproar. Another disappearance had occurred this time. It was Maeve's childhood friend, Liam. He had been out late, searching for a lost sheep near the edge of the woods, and never returned. The villagers found only his hat, blood-stained and discarded near the forest's edge. Maeve felt a cold terror grip her. The stories, the disappearances, it was all real. The Heart-Eater had returned, and it was hungry. Determined to put an end to the nightmare, Maeve decided to venture into the forest alone. She armed herself with a silver dagger, one that her mother had kept hidden, claiming it was a relic from a time when the village had fought back against the darkness. Maeve wasn't sure if she believed in its supposed power, but it was better than facing the beast with nothing. As Maeve entered the forest, the trees seemed to close in around her, their gnarled branches reaching out like twisted fingers. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the ground was soft beneath her feet, as if it had absorbed the blood of countless victims. Every step she took echoed in the silence, and she could feel the eyes of the forest upon her, watching, waiting. Deeper and deeper she went, until she reached a clearing bathed in the sickly light of the harvest moon. In the center of the clearing was a massive, ancient tree, its bark blackened and twisted. At its base, a large stone altar was covered in dark stains blood, long dried, from rituals or sacrifices Maeve could only guess. And there, standing in the shadows, was the Heart-Eater. The beast was even more horrifying than Maeve's dreams had depicted. Its skin was a patchwork of rough fur and exposed muscle, with a face that was a grotesque blend of human and animal features. But its eyes, those burning, crimson eyes held a cruel intelligence, a hunger that was all too human. The heart-eater snarled, baring rows of sharp, blood-stained teeth, as it slowly advanced toward Maeve. The ground beneath her feet trembled with each step it took, and Maeve felt the cold grip of fear tighten around her heart. But she held her ground, raising the silver dagger with trembling hands. The beast paused, eyeing the dagger warily. For a moment there was a flicker of something in its eyes, fear, or perhaps recognition. It was then that Maeve realized that the stories were true. The heart-eater could be wounded, even killed, by silver. With a sudden burst of courage, Maeve lunged at the beast, slashing at its chest. The dagger sliced through the air, meeting its mark with a sickening crunch. The heart-eater howled in pain, staggering back as black blood oozed from the wound. But the beast was not defeated. It lunged at Maeve with terrifying speed, knocking her to the ground. The dagger flew from her hand, landing just out of reach. The heart-eater loomed over her, its hot breath washing over her face as it snarled, ready to rip her heart from her chest. In that moment, Maeve knew that she was going to die, but she refused to go down without a fight. With the last of her strength, she grabbed a jagged stone from the ground and drove it into the beast's side. The heart-eater roared in agony, rearing back just long enough for Maeve to scramble to her feet and retrieve the dagger. With a final desperate strike, Maeve plunged the silver dagger into the beast's heart. The heart-eater let out a guttural scream, its body convulsing as the silver burned through its flesh. For a moment, it seemed as if the beast might overpower her, but then it collapsed to the ground, its eyes dimming as the life drained from its body. Maeve stood over the corpse, her chest heaving with exhaustion and fear. The forest was silent once more. The oppressive weight of the heart-eater's presence lifted. But as Maeve looked down at the beast, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching her. Slowly, she backed away, the dagger clutched tightly in her hand. The legend of the heart-eater had been real, but the nightmare was finally over, or so she thought. As Maeve made her way back to the village, she couldn't help but glance over her shoulder, half expecting to see those burning eyes following her. The forest was quiet, almost peaceful, but Maeve knew better. There were other legends, other horrors that lurked in the shadows, waiting for their time to strike. And as the harvest moon cast its eerie light over the village, Maeve wondered if the heart-eater was truly the only beast that hungered for the hearts of the living, or if it was just one of many.